Hey, it's Noir Nerd. This is part 3 of my JS13 vlog series, charting the progress of my entry to the WebXR category of the JS13 game competition, coding competition. So since the last video, I obviously made a lot of progress in the last video. That was where the majority of my progress was made, and I had the breakthrough of the actual game mechanic. So in a lot of ways, this new series of work has just been tweaking, making things work better in VR mode, and tweaking mode a lot as well, so making it just an overall better experience. So major things have changed. The UI before, I was adding with CSS, which was not really good. It wouldn't really show in VR mode, so I had to change that, add text elements with A-frame to actually add it to the scene itself, with a -1 Z distance from the player entity, so that that shows in VR now. That's one thing I changed. Also, so in the time lapse you can just see me doing a lot of these things. Also, I tweaked a lot of the actual rendering of the atoms. I did a lot of tweaking of that. Obviously, it was something I had to tweak because of the gameplay balance and all that sort of thing. And also before, when I was testing it in VR, later on I'll be showing me testing it in VR as well. So my VR setup is pretty simple actually. I don't have an Oculus or anything. I just have a mobile phone in this very basic headset, but it's something to test with anyway at the end of the day. I'll show that a little later on. But so at first when I tested it, the player was here and all the entities were spawning here, so I was having to turn around, which is not really ideal. So a lot of tweaking with that, changed the amount of atoms that spawn, good and bad, and also just made it so it was more like surrounding you, as opposed to, there's still an element of randomness. The positioning is still random between I think -500 and 500 in general, like as a generalization for the positioning. So that is a quite major improvement. It makes it a lot more immersive. You're straight into it and you're surrounded by all these atoms, which is good. The actual experience itself is quite enjoyable actually. And the other thing I added was a start screen, which then, so when the game ends or when you win, it loops back to the start screen as well. So I didn't want it so that just whenever you start the game, you're just straight in there with no instructions of what to do. So I added a basic start screen, which again using the text elements in A-frame, so you can see it in VR, and just looking at you look at an atom basically to start the game, which I thought made sense. So you get some instructions at the bottom. These are what you have to do. Title of the game, atom, which you look at to actually start the game and then start the gameplay loop. So in terms of the code, look, I tidied that up and commented a lot more stuff into it. So I've actually started adding comments to the code. I think that's something that's quite important from what I gather from as it's a coding competition. Makes it more easy to understand as well. I'm not going too overboard. I've just added a pretty straightforward explanation of what each part of the code does. In terms of the code, so there's two JavaScript files. There's a main and a start. So the start is pretty short. It's just the stuff for the register a component for when you look at the atom to start the game. The way I've split it as well, so I've got an index HTML, which is the start screen, and I think it's game HTML or main. I've changed it around a few times, but which is the actual game itself. So so when you look at the atom, it just takes you to that page. Had a little bit of trouble actually, because basically where I'm testing these files, I'm not going to say where it is because it's my private thing, but that's not really private, but I'm just testing it on a site I've got, a domain I've got, which has an SSL certificate, so I can do that. So I've been doing that, but I had some issues with the paths because basically I do a Windows location href or something like that, from what I remember, which takes the player to main or index HTML. It's having some issues because it's on a domain in the directory. I need to mess around with that a little bit more. But anyway, I'm going off track a bit now. So in terms of the main game loop, so we have a few functions. We have the begin game, which basically calls all the functions for adding the good atoms and bad atoms to appending them to the scene, the A scene. There's a lot going on there. I'll probably do a much more in-depth code review once in the final vlog, which this is probably the penultimate vlog, so probably the final one I'll do more of an overview of that. But you've got the begin game, we have a reset game function, we have a load of register component functions for using A-frame's component system, which, like for changing colors, for adding points. We have initial game variables right at the top, which are like the main game variables, like the amount of so most of the ones at the top are just like most of the variables at the top are things like the amount of boxes, the amount of spheres I want to spawn, the amount of bad boxes I want to spawn. There's some booleans in there. For basically when you win the game, also added that, so it just at the minute it just says you won, and then resets after 4 seconds. I've got a delay, but I might improve that a little bit. I think it needs to be a bit bigger. It's a bit hard because I have to test it in VR. So what I'll show you now is me testing it in VR. Read it, that's good. Let's adjust this a bit. Superposition VR, okay. Let's get it back a bit. Observe 80 random generated atoms and avoid looking at red atoms to win. You have 100 seconds, look into the atom above. So good so far. Ah, the VR didn't work. That's annoying. That's something terribly. Okay. I can see the score, which is good. Ah! So I've got 12, that's not too bad. Ah, number 13. It's pretty cool. It's just the only thing is the automatic mode for VR isn't working, which is pretty annoying. So I'm 20. Sounds work, which is good. 34 points, that's not too bad. It's a bit hard though because the zooming, I thought it was pretty good. We're halfway through and I've got half the time left, so I'm going to try and keep on looking at that piece. I think I'll win. I think the timer's a bit off at the minute because I think it'll beat it. Oh, almost there. Almost beat it. Yeah, go on. Yeah, I won. Yeah, we're back in the beginning again. At least a one-way game. That's pretty good. Yeah, I tested it in VR, and it was mostly good. The one annoying little thing that I'm struggling with now is this didn't seem to happen when I tested it locally. I was using a local server, I think, and it worked fine. Like it would. So basically, what I wanted to do was to force VR mode as soon as you go into the game, which worked fine when I tested it. But when I actually tested it on a mobile device in VR on the domain, it didn't seem to work. I'm not exactly sure why that is, because basically, because the essential problem is that I don't want to have to switch to VR mode manually every time I've got a VR headset on, because that would just be really damn annoying, to be frank. So I need to work out exactly how I want to work with that. I guess it's alright, like on desktop itself it works fine, on mobile it works fine, it's just VR, I want it to be VR first, I think. Maybe I'll just forget that, it depends, it's time dependent, really. But anyway, that's some progress on the thing. So the game's almost finished now, it's more a case of tweaking. I've still got this other 13th, so I've still got a little bit of time actually. Like over a week, so I think I'm just going to take the next, however long it is. We're on today, 4th, so 9 days. I'm going to take that time just to tweak things, probably make things look a bit better, tweak some of the visuals a bit, not a great deal. But yeah, that's that. That's been my vlog. I'm not a nerd. My general vlogs are this sort of thing, like talking about my projects and code reviews and tutorials and things. So like and subscribe if you like the content. You can buy me a coffee as well. I'll put the link below. Always appreciated. I've had none yet, but strange things have happened. Anyway, that's that. You can check out JS13 if you can. It's a really cool competition. It's probably a bit late to get involved now, but not too late. I mean, some of you whiz kids out there, I'm sure could do it. But yeah, peace. I've been no nerd. Rock on, etc.